Referring back to the Gemini papers, I noticed within the papers you talked about how you can start to use digital twins to boost net zero carbon efforts within construction. I thought that was very interesting because it's going to become something that's more and more important for construction, and actually linking back to the finance sector increasingly as major builds seek investment. One of the questions they're going to be asked is, what are you doing about understanding your embodied carbon? What are you doing about monitoring your, not just your emissions, but also those of your supply chain?
So digital twins are a fantastic tool for this. Whether you're looking at the embodied carbon in your asset, whether you're looking at the carbon, the energy used as that asset's being used on a day-to-day basis, whether you're looking at what might happen if you made these changes, scenario planning, all that can be done within a digital twin. And in a digital twin, you can optimize in real time or near time your carbon footprint. So it allows you to make those decisions, to make better environmental decisions without having the data in a format that you can use, query, sense check, and make those decisions. You can make hopefully good decisions, but not as good decisions. You can make much better decisions with the digital twin. And going back to the finance paper, having that data, that ability, and that monitoring allows the finance institution, but others also, to check whether those things that were promised at the beginning of a project have actually occurred, and to hold people accountable for the carbon that they're using, for the energy that they're using, for the pollution that they may or may not be causing. All that can be monitored and hopefully mitigated through a digital twin.
Is this something that you're not seeing much use of yet, or are companies actively doing this? Do you have any examples that you can talk about?
Yes, I think we do. One of the water companies in the UK was looking using their digital estate to optimize for carbon. And the really interesting thing is they were optimizing for carbon, but actually it optimized financially as well, I believe. So it's not, there's often a feeling that if you're optimizing your environmental outputs, if you like, that it will have a negative effect on your finances, and they found exactly the opposite.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting comment that you've made there, in that once you start to use technologies like this, and once you start to investigate how the type of information it can give you, actually it can be a positive financial benefit as well.
Exactly. And the digital twin is not just about digital twin of a physical asset. You can have a digital twin of your costs, your finances, your loans. You can see what the financial implications are of making any particular change to the physical asset.
And that's something, again, you think will become more widespread use as people become more confident in the way they can use digital twins? Absolutely.
Well, once it becomes more accepted that making better decisions is better, and digital twins are a tool to make that happen, then absolutely, I think it will become much more widespread.
Let's move on to policymakers. And again, I want to ask about this because if we're talking citywide digital twins, connected digital twins, there has to be, policymakers have to be very closely involved. How do you start that engagement process, and what are they asking? What do they want to know when you're talking to them about digital twins?
I think one key thing is, when it comes to policy and policy makers, is to recognize, when we're talking about digital twins and ecosystem of connected digital twins, it's effectively about having better understanding about how the different systems that kind of form the built environment come together. So how the energy, transport, water, wastewater, telecoms, residential, commercial, all of these systems that, this whole system of systems that is the built environment come together. So one key shift in thinking that we often, discuss with policymakers, for example, is around shift from siloed thinking. So looking to address challenges, let's say within transport separately to energy, to more of systems thinking. And I think that shift to systems thinking, with, for example, with countries like the UK, there is a strong shift in policy within policy making, with policymakers to more systems thinking and looking at the built environment as this whole system of systems where we have, and that it is in operation, it is in use. We live in it, we ship goods in it, we access services from it, and when we do construction, this is a type of intervention on that system of systems. I think that shift to systems thinking and recognizing the built environment as this big machine effectively that provides services to people and organizations is a key shift. And I think it's useful for policymakers to start recognizing it as such and start to develop the tools to understand those complexities so we can make better interventions at policy level. And the ecosystems of connected digital twins is a type of these tools that allows us to understand that complexity.
So actually what you're doing is getting different departments, government departments involved, because you're talking about not just the building environment, but you're talking about transport, et cetera, and all the different essential services, and getting those to talk through what types of, how do you mix all of this together?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I think this is a shift that we are also seeing in the UK across coming from different departments. And there was a very interesting publication came out last week from central government, so from the Office of Science in Government, that sets out systems thinking toolkit for civil servants. This is kind of the heading of that toolkit, and it's fantastic step forward to this sort of policy-driven thinking in terms of kind of bringing way to bring all of these domains together to address systemic challenge, like net zero, for example, or climate change, because these won't hit one organization or one sector. They hit everything, all organizations or sectors. So we need different approach to address these challenges, using systems thinking and systems-based tools like connected digital twins and ecosystems of digital twins.
You said in the papers that governments and academia and industry will have to work together, which I completely understand now from the description you've given throughout this interview. You also talked about developing a national capability enhancement program. What I'd like is just a short description on what that is, and is it something that can be done throughout the world? Should different governments or different regions be thinking the same way?
Well, to give a very simple answer to the last bit of your question, yes. Every government should be thinking about having a national capability program. If we're moving into a more digital world, and some people have grown up as digital natives and they're very comfortable with digital tools and digital techniques, and some of us, the technology didn't exist when we were going through our formal education, so we've had to train as we go along. So making sure that people have the right tools available to them for the job that they're doing, for the life that they're living, so that they can use, it could be a digital twin, it could be just simple, more simple digital tools to enhance the work that they're doing and to produce better outcomes. But we need to think about what skills are needed. We need to think about it all the way from children starting kindergarten through to someone who's been in an industry for 30 or 40 years and wants to upskill. There are opportunities for learning throughout one's career. And any national capability program needs to look at all those different stages of your career and your education and make the right interventions.
So Peter was mentioning just before about the need for a systems architect, because you've got so many different industries, departments, etc. involved. From the answer you've just given there, it sounds like this is again where you'd need something like a systems architect, somebody who can oversee, because that person has an eye on the different all the different not technologies, industries, etc. that have to be pulled together.
So it's about connections, it's about coordinations, it's about convening, it's about having that big picture view to make sure that there aren't silos, whether we're talking about data silos or knowledge silos, educational silos or sector silos. We need to have that, I always call it umbrella, the big umbrella, that big picture view across the top to make sure that things are aligned. They don't have to be the same, they just need to be aligned and coordinated and connected.